Hello everyone, and welcome to AmeriCorps VISTA's Request for Concept Papers webinar. My name is Melissa McNeely, and I'm the Program Impact Specialist with VISTA's Program Impact and Operations Unit. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Ben. You'll also see our AmeriCorps VISTA colleague, Craig, on the chat, and our partners at LSI.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ben. Thank you for joining us on this call to learn more about AmeriCorps VISTA. I'll hand things back over to Melissa now.
Thanks, Ben. Today we're going to provide you with the basic information you need to decide if AmeriCorps VISTA is a good fit for your organization. We'll cover the big picture by taking a broad look at CNCS and all of our national service programs, and we'll dig a bit deeper into the VISTA program. We'll also review the roles and responsibilities of VISTA members as well as the VISTA sponsoring organization. We'll take a look at the application process, and we'll focus mostly on the concept paper submission, which is the first step in our two-part process. And lastly, we'll discuss additional resources that we have out there so that you can learn when, where, and how to access the great support that we have in place to help you develop a VISTA project. So let's get started and talk about CNCS and the National Service family. Here are our objectives for the presentation. Today we'll be sure to cover our various CNCS programs so that you understand the breadth of our work and how it may align with your organization. We understand that the VISTA program may seem complex, and we'll take some time to explain our core principles and program further. VISTA sponsors are responsible for project and sponsor management, and during this call, we'll certainly touch upon those main components. We have a two-part application process, and we'll guide you through the concept paper submission and highlight the critical information to help you develop a good concept paper. And lastly, we want you to leave today's webinar with a really good sense of where to find answers to questions you may have about the VISTA application process. So we'll point out staff and resources to answer those questions and shape your proposed project. As you heard, we have the privilege of working for the Corporation for National and Community Service. So you may be wondering, what is the Corporation for National and Community Service? The Corporation for National and Community Service, or CNCS, is the federal agency for service and volunteering. Through CNCS programs, we engage millions of Americans in results-driven service to solve problems, expand opportunity, and strengthen communities. We do this by providing resources to thousands of organizations each year. Many of our partners are national organizations that you've probably heard of, like the American Red Cross, the United Way, City Year, and Teach for America. We also partner with public agencies throughout the nonprofit sector, including lesser-known faith-based and community-based organizations, and that serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country. CNCS is focused on meeting pressing national and local needs, from combating the opioid crisis and helping students make progress in school, to responding to disasters and supporting veterans and military families. We primarily address these needs through our two broad programs called AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. We'll talk about the different elements of AmeriCorps and Senior Corps in a moment, but one thing worth noting is that they share a common element. That is, they're fundamentally public-private partnerships. Last year, CNCS not only provided resources to a network of community partners, but those partners leveraged $1.25 billion in outside resources, more than CNCS's entire federal appropriation, to increase the community impact and expand resources for all citizens. And now I'll tell you a little bit more about Senior Corps. Senior Corps connects seniors 55 years and over with the people and organizations in the community that need them most. Senior Corps is comprised of three different programs: Senior Companions, Foster Grandparents, and RSVP. Together, over 200,000 older adults volunteer through these programs each year. They tutored and mentored more than 267,000 children and helped 840,000 seniors live independently, along with a wide variety of other activities. Senior Corps volunteers served 74 million hours. AmeriCorps is our other main CNCS program. AmeriCorps engages 75,000 members annually in intensive national service to meet these and other needs, such as teaching and tutoring students, providing STEM and financial literacy education, and mobilizing millions of volunteers to multiply their impact. AmeriCorps members serve with thousands of organizations, from neighborhood nonprofits, schools, and faith-based organizations, to nationally known organizations like Habitat for Humanity and the American Red Cross. AmeriCorps members provide intensive sustained service, often serving for an entire year to address a local community need. They are also a force multiplier, annually recruiting and supervising nearly 2 million additional volunteers to boost the impact of the organizations in which they serve. For many, AmeriCorps is a pathway to education and to employment. Similar to an apprenticeship, AmeriCorps members earn while they learn and gain valuable career skills and experience to prepare them for work, or in the case of folks changing careers, to help them transition to a new line of work. There are 3 programs in the AmeriCorps family. So AmeriCorps State and National supports a wide range of local service programs that engage thousands of Americans in intensive community service each year. So members are age 17 and older, they serve full-time or part-time, and they're able to provide direct service. AmeriCorps State and National is a grant-based program where support for AmeriCorps activities is provided to organizations in the form of federal grants. The National Civilian Community Corps, also known as NCCC, strengthens communities and develops leaders through direct, team-based national and community service. In this program, individuals must be between the ages of 18 to 24 and serve full-time. They work in a team-based environment and participate in a residential program, working and living with their team. NCCC members conduct direct service in the community. And Volunteers in Service to America, or VISTA, is the main topic for today's webinar, and it also falls under the AmeriCorps umbrella. Before we talk in more detail about VISTA, let's hear more from you. We'd like to know if you've worked with any AmeriCorps programs. So if so, please select which AmeriCorps program you've had experience with. Thank you for participating. So it seems like over half of you have heard about the AmeriCorps VISTA program, which is great, and a little over 30% AmeriCorps State and National, and we have some folks on the line that have also heard of NCCC, and we have some people that are here that are newly learning about CNCS and all of our programs, so it's great to have you on this call today. So now let's focus on VISTA. VISTA has 4 core principles that guide our work and the work that sponsors and members accomplish in their communities. The first principle is fighting poverty. A VISTA project's goal is to address issues that individuals and communities are experiencing. VISTA strives to empower communities. We want to engage residents of low-income communities in the planning, the development, and implementation of VISTA projects. VISTA focuses on capacity building, and by that we mean that the goal of VISTA projects and members are to strengthen, expand, and increase the reach of anti-poverty organizations and programs in coordination with existing staff and volunteers. Lastly, we try to create sustainable solutions. We want the capacity developed through the VISTA project to continue even after the VISTA resources are gone. So during their service, VISTA members develop systems, they develop relationships and knowledge, which they then transfer to the organization and the community to sustain over the long term. Before we go further, let's review a few key definitions and terms that will help you understand our structure. We've already introduced a few terms for you. So VISTA project is a project, or a VISTA project means a set of VISTA activities operated and overseen by a sponsor. Sponsor VISTA sponsor or VISTA project sponsor means a public agency or private nonprofit organization that receives assistance under the DVSA and is responsible for operating and overseeing a VISTA project. A public agency may be a federal, state, local, or tribal government. The project director, or VISTA project director, means a staff person of legal age of the sponsor who has been assigned by the sponsor the overall responsibility for managing that VISTA project. Project directors are responsible for executing all aspects of the project as outlined by that sponsor. And a supervisor is an individual who directly supervises a VISTA member. This can be at the project level or at the site or subrecipient level. Project sponsors are responsible for ensuring that all member supervisors are trained. It's important to note that some project directors are also supervisors. And CNCS also has field staff working throughout the United States. These staff will help develop, support, and facilitate VISTA projects throughout their life cycle and are a valuable resource when applying to become a VISTA sponsor. One main difference between the VISTA program and other CNCS programs is that VISTA is the only national service program that focuses on capacity building of anti-poverty programs. Through VISTA, we aim to help organizations expand the scale, the reach, the efficiency, or the effectiveness of these programs. An example of capacity building versus direct service would be a VISTA member creating volunteer applications and position descriptions, recruiting and placing volunteers for a tutoring program, and designing a system to effectively recruit and utilize volunteers. The goal of a project like this would be for the volunteer management system to remain in place and be sustained by the sponsor agency after that VISTA completes their service. By contrast, AmeriCorps members in programs other than VISTA may provide direct service. In the tutoring example, where the VISTA member is creating a volunteer management system, AmeriCorps members in other programs would provide tutoring directly to the students and possibly keep the system updated as new volunteers are recruited. A VISTA's capacity building efforts should be geared towards strengthening a project to address poverty over the long term. While the focus of a VISTA member's assignment is capacity building, they may perform adjunct service, direct service tasks in support of their VISTA assignment. The AmeriCorps VISTA program has been impacting individuals and communities since 1965. In fiscal year 2018, the program engaged over 8,000 members in 4,500 different sites. Through the VISTA members, sponsoring organizations and communities received over $195 million in cash and in-kind resources to support the VISTA projects and corresponding events. The VISTA members serve closely with volunteers at some sites and are instrumental in training them and developing processes to build the capacity and sustainability. Each fiscal year, VISTA identifies several programming priorities that potential new sponsors should focus on when developing concept papers and applications. These priorities align with our CNCS focus areas. Currently, under our Economic Opportunities focus area, there are numerous topical areas, one of which is housing. So the Homeless and Housing Coalition of Kentucky is an example of a successful rural homelessness project. The project serves both urban and rural areas, and they've seen great impacts in the VISTA's capacity building work, particularly in the more rural parts of the state. In the rural areas, it's challenging for individuals to access housing and to obtain third-party verification of homeless status, which is required to confirm eligibility for some homeless service programs. So in some instances, organizations providing housing services are understaffed and under-resourced. So in this project, 23 VISTAs recruited over 2,000 volunteers who served over 40,000 hours in the community. So as part of the project's resource development efforts and the VISTA service, they raised over $738,000 in cash resources and over $880,000 worth of in-kind resources. Ultimately, over 1,000 individuals received housing placement services and over 300 individuals transitioned into housing. So now that I've given a broad overview of CNCS and the VISTA program, I'm going to dive in and talk a little bit more about VISTA members. Up to this point, I've gone into great detail about CNCS and our programs, which are making an amazing impact throughout the country. And we provided examples of a successful VISTA project. So now that you've a basic understanding of CNCS and the VISTA program, I'll focus on the most important resource, and that's our VISTA members. Over the next few minutes, I'll discuss member eligibility, member activities, and program benefits. So VISTA service is a 12-month full-time commitment. VISTA members build the capacity and the sustainability of poverty alleviation programs. There are a few things that you should know. So first, VISTAs are members. They are not employees, interns, or volunteers of or with the sponsoring organization, and you should not refer to them as such. VISTAs serve at their sponsoring agency. They do not work there. And they receive a modest living allowance that aligns with the community that they're serving. So what type of individuals are cut out to be a VISTA member? While the typical image of an AmeriCorps VISTA member is a highly skilled, recent college graduate, a significant percentage of members are baby boomers who bring a wide array of professional and life experiences to their VISTA assignments. A member's perspectives and experiences provide a unique lens from which they view the world and tackle issues at the community level. Some VISTAs are also members of the low-income community your project aims to serve. Who better to engage the local community? So VISTA members pursue their assignments for a variety of reasons, which range from wanting to make a difference and eliminating poverty to learning new career skills and networking. So VISTA leaders are also doing great work throughout the country. To be eligible to serve as a leader, an individual must have already served as a VISTA member for at least a year or completed Peace Corps service. Both of these experiences will have equipped them with the skills needed to support VISTA members. The leaders help to recruit, mentor, train, coordinate report writing, and generally support teams of at least 8 VISTAs. They can guide data collection and interpret data, but they cannot complete the reporting activities for the sponsoring organization. While they can't supervise members, leaders can coordinate, facilitate, and support the efforts of the VISTAs in their communities. Now that you know the difference between a VISTA member and VISTA leader, let's take a look at what members actually do when they serve in their communities. So what is it that they do? VISTAs provide capacity building to organizations and projects, and they work to empower communities and lift them out of poverty. This is done in many different ways, based on the sponsor organization, the assignment, the community's needs, and their own creativity. The members' outcomes and impact in the communities they serve is invaluable. They play a significant role in building and maintaining partnerships and collaborating with organizations and stakeholders throughout the project's entirety or for special events. VISTA members create programs, systems, and trainings, and they also participate in various aspects of resource development. As you can imagine, VISTA members and leaders participate in a wide array of activities within an organization and in their communities. There are countless opportunities for them to work in tandem with community members to make an impact. While there are a myriad of unique projects and activities that are appropriate for VISTA members, there are definitely some activities that are prohibited. So let's take a look at those on the next slide. So there are a number of things that VISTA members cannot do per the Domestic Volunteer Service Act that created VISTA. Prior to service, VISTA members must complete the online terms and conditions course that details what's provided to members and what is allowed during VISTA service. If a member violates one of the terms of conditions, the supervisor must inform their CNCS field staff contact immediately. The violations have different consequences, and for the protection of the project and any other members on board, it's critical to act promptly. The VISTA program is focused solely on serving American communities, and members cannot work on any international projects. Additionally, engaging in religious instruction, conducting worship services, and engaging in any form of proselytizing during service hours is prohibited. There are also some prohibited political activities to be aware of. A VISTA cannot engage in partisan political activities while in service, such as fundraising for a partisan political campaign at any time, or identifying oneself as a VISTA while engaging in partisan political activities. Along those same lines, VISTAs cannot be involved in voter registration as part of the VISTA service. In general, VISTAs cannot engage in or support political activity, religious activity, lobbying, or union organizing as part of their service or while perceived to be serving as a VISTA. Now let's move on to the topic of supplanting staff. Members shall not perform duties that should be done or typically done by paid staff, contractors, or existing volunteers. The role of VISTA is to build the capacity to bring communities out of poverty. So now that I've covered some of the accepted and the prohibited activities of VISTA service, let's review some of those member benefits. If you become a VISTA sponsor, you'll want to know all of the benefits available to VISTA members so that you can inform candidates during the recruitment process and support members during their service term. Members will receive benefits which range from a living allowance, non-competitive hiring eligibility for federal jobs, and an end-of-service award. And there are many others that are not listed on the slide, such as student loan forbearance. Not to mention the fact that only AmeriCorps VISTA service time counts towards federal retirement, which is a great benefit. You can find out more information about VISTA member benefits on the VISTA webpage. So now that I've gone over VISTA member roles, responsibilities, and some of their benefits, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Ben.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, again, and thank you for being on this call. At this point, you should feel like you have a good sense of who VISTA members are, the allowable activities, and VISTA benefits. Now I'd like to shift the conversation and talk a bit about sponsor organizations. During this next portion of the presentation, you'll learn more about the VISTA program and the responsibilities of a sponsor, which should help you begin thinking about whether the VISTA program aligns with your anti-poverty work. If you are selected as a sponsor, you will join VISTA sponsors from across the nation that are fighting poverty in their respective communities. The VISTA project director or supervisor at your organization will supervise the VISTA members, and you will need to ensure that your project is in compliance with all VISTA policies and procedures. The VISTA program has two different program model types, which are the single site and the intermediary model. Depending on how your project is structured, you might be the main point of contact for members and site supervisors. The first and most basic program model type is a single site sponsor. This refers to one agency hosting a VISTA project at one site. In this VISTA program model, the VISTA supervisor and members are in the same location. In the intermediary model, a VISTA sponsoring organization helps provide CNCS resources to other eligible organizations that are oftentimes small and may not have the capacity to access such resources. The intermediary is an organization that has the capacity to develop and support VISTA sites across a wide geographic area or among a group of organizations that address a common need. They provide the administrative services, technical support, training, and oversight to the subsites. The way that an intermediary model works is that the intermediary organization can partner with another organization to place VISTA members, or the intermediary organization may place VISTAs at their own chapter or affiliate sites. What type of organization do you represent? We'll take a quick minute to check your answers in the poll. All right, thank you everybody for inputting your responses. It looks like the majority, or close to 80% of those on this call would be a part of a single site. So really, no matter your organization type, there are going to be common responsibilities that apply to all sponsors. The numerous responsibilities the sponsor undertakes to help the VISTA experience positive and meaningful for all of its members. Some of the most important responsibilities involve managing the VISTA members. As a sponsor, you'd be responsible for drafting compelling and eye-catching opportunity listings to announce your position and attract highly qualified candidates. In addition, you need to recruit, screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for service. Recruitment and placement of VISTA members will take place on CNCS web-based VISTA platform called the VISTA Portal My AmeriCorps. To help with your recruitment and outreach, VISTA has developed social media graphics, messages, and other promotional items that you might use throughout this process. Successful sponsors also provide an in-depth on-site orientation and training to all incoming VISTA members at the beginning of their service and conduct ongoing training, which includes professional development opportunities. It should be no surprise that the best projects offer day-to-day supervision and support of their members. This should include introducing and orienting the VISTA into the community, confirming that members have the space, supplies, and equipment necessary to carry out their service. Provide reasonable accommodations to members who request them based on different abilities. Ensuring that members' activities are in line with their approved VISTA assignment descriptions, better known as VAD. And meeting with the VISTA members regularly, to discuss expectations and goals and to review the project progress for each member. Effective project management is an essential part of a successful VISTA project and member experience. There are numerous phases and activities related to planning, implementing, and executing a project. Today, I'd like to touch on three main aspects that sponsoring organizations should focus on. First, be sure to develop your proposed project with community members. Leaders and members of the community understand the community's needs and wishes and bring a key perspective to the planning, implementation, and evaluation of your activities. The community's guidance, support, and buy-in are critical to the project's success. Performance measurements are also an important part of our work and help to keep us on track. Don't worry, you can develop the performance measurements with CNCS field staff. Staff can help to refine your ideas and ensure that the community's and VISTA needs are being met. The performance measurements inform the reporting you will complete, and the information you provide in these reports demonstrate your project's impact in resource management. It also allows us to provide you with better technical assistance for program improvement. There are several reports that will help you manage your project and inform VISTA headquarters about the project's success and needed improvements. The Project Progress Reports, or PPRs, are completed on a quarterly basis for the first year of your project. Each report should build upon the previous one. After your second year, PPRs are typically semi-annual, and a transition to that reporting frequency is at the discretion of CNCS staff. The PPR information will be part of your project's official record and will be used to evaluate the project's continuation. VISTA has developed PPR guidance to help you create and submit reports completely and on time. If you have multiple sites, you'll need to establish a way to aggregate information or data from members serving at those sites and provide comprehensive reports. The VISTA Progress Report Supplement, or VPRS, is an annual report that tracks demographic information for your project. It is typically due late in the calendar year and is based on our agency's fiscal year, which is October 1st through September 30th. To adhere to this time frame, you'll likely have to track information with your members on a monthly basis to accurately submit this report. You can find a link to an informational webinar and instructions on how to complete this report in the VISTA Sponsor Resource Guide, which is made available to all sponsors. As a sponsor, you will learn about cost sharing and its benefits to your program. Cost share is a strategy in which the sponsoring organization pays the living allowance for one or more of its AmeriCorps VISTA members. It is strongly encouraged and is an effective way for the VISTA program to reach more local communities across the nation. In a cost share partnership, the sponsoring organization is invoiced by CNCS for the associated member living allowance costs. There are several benefits of cost sharing, which include increasing the number of VISTAs that your agency receives, expanding VISTA resources across the country, showing commitment to the project, and it is also a potential way to extend the life of a VISTA project. Now that I have provided an overview of the VISTA program models, the sponsoring organization's responsibilities, and the cost share partnership opportunity, I'll provide an overview on the VISTA application process. So far, we have reviewed CNCS as an agency, the VISTA program, member roles and benefits, and the sponsor's responsibilities. Now we'll focus our discussion on the VISTA application process and the steps that an organization needs to take to become a VISTA sponsor. There are two steps to the VISTA program application process. First, the interested organization submits a concept paper. CNCS then reviews the concept paper to gain a better understanding of the proposed project and to determine if the activities and the organization are in alignment with the VISTA's programming priorities. The concept paper submission deadline for the first quarter of this fiscal year is October 1st. I will revert the timeline in just a few minutes. If CNCS accepts the concept paper, the organization is invited to submit a full application. CNCS field staff are available to provide technical assistance and guidance during the writing of both the concept paper and the full application. Concept papers are submitted in eGrants and not grants.gov. Have any of you worked with the CNCS eGrant system? Please let us know your response in the poll. Okay, so as we can see with some of these results, we're really about 50-50 here. 51% are saying that they have not used the eGrant system, while 49% are saying that they have. So this will be good for us to quickly go through an overview of eGrants, as well as I'm sure many of you that have been in eGrants, it's always nice to get the refresher. Really quick, I did want to go back. I made a mistake and I referenced the quarter one submission timeline. But we are now working in the quarter two, which is going to have a deadline of January 1st. So my mistake, and I quickly just wanted to go ahead and update you guys on that. But moving forward, let's talk a bit more about concept paper submissions. So what does eGrants look like, and what are the basics that you need to know in order to submit a concept paper? If you haven't already, you will need to create an eGrants account in order to submit your concept paper. Follow the steps on the slide to create an account prior to your submission. In order to move through the process, you will need your EIN number and the organization's contact information. Once you create an account and log into eGrants, you will go to the lower left side of the screen and click on Concept Paper, which is highlighted here on the side. In the next window, you will click on the FY 2020 AmeriCorps VISTA State New NOFA. You will be asked to anticipate the length of your project period. Most projects typically last anywhere between 3 to 5 years. Be sure to select the focus areas and objectives that correspond with your proposed project. You'll also include the geographic areas that will be affected by your project. This should only include the cities, towns, and states, and not any additional information. If you are a former CNCS grantee, there are a few additional questions that you will need to answer. The next section of the concept paper asks for the applicant to complete 4 narrative questions. The narrative questions will allow you to thoroughly explain your proposed project and the community and beneficiaries that it will benefit. In the needs section, you will explain the unmet poverty-related community needs that you propose to address with the project. It is helpful to include data and citations when available. Under strengthening communities, you should describe how your proposed project aims to complement or expand the current efforts taking place in the community to address the identified community needs. In the organizational capability section, you should detail your organization's capacity to manage a federal national service program and VISTA members. It's important to clearly articulate the proposed VISTA members' responsibilities in the organizational capability section. Last, organizations that are interested in becoming intermediaries will answer the intermediary justification question. Please do not copy and paste the question into the response box. You should write your responses in WordPad in order to avoid extra characters from appearing in your submission. These will also allow you to conduct spell check on your work. The green check marks in e-grants mean that you have answered and submitted the response to that question. If the arrow icon is red or orange, it means that the question has not yet been answered and submitted. Now that we have reviewed the e-grant system and the required fields to be completed when submitting a concept paper, let's take a look at the characteristics of a strong concept paper. As you have heard, the Domestic Volunteer Service Act is the federal statute that guides the VISTA program. Each concept paper submitted must adhere to this act. In addition, the concept paper must align with VISTA's priorities and principles, address poverty in a community, and empower community members to participate in project development, implementation, and evaluation. Strong concept papers will also identify how the VISTA service will lead to an increased capacity and sustainability, generating public or private sector resources, and to promote local volunteer service. Make sure to review the VISTA program guidance and concept paper instructions to the on nationalservice.gov website before writing the concept paper. These 2 documents provide all of the necessary details needed to develop a strong concept paper. In addition, the request for concept papers notice also provides a comprehensive overview of what CNCS is looking for when reviewing the concept paper submissions. As a quick overview, be sure that the name that you include in e-grants is your organization's legal name. If you're tax-exempt organization, use the IRS tax-exempt organization search to see how your legal name appears in their system. When asked to include the areas affected by a project, only include cities, counties, or states and no other extra information. When answering the question about the project's focus area and target population, please be specific. Selecting all of the possible response options does not strengthen your concept paper. Poverty alleviation and capacity building must always be the project focus. Be sure to paint a clear picture of your project. This means that you'll include the number of VISTAs that you are requesting. Remember, a VISTA can never supplement or supplant any staff or volunteers. They are there to build capacity. And it's good to know that you can always reach out to your local CNCS field office for technical assistance with writing the concept paper. Let's take a look at some key dates in the request for concept paper process. On this slide, we have the AmeriCorps VISTA FY 2020 request for concept papers timeline. For the first quarter, concept papers are due on October 1st. We understand that this is a short turnaround. Are going to be due on what's going to be on January 1st. We understand that this is a short turnaround. However, most completed concept papers are just a few pages in length. CNCS staff will conduct a review and notify applicants of their decisions. If approved, the applicant will be invited to submit a full project application. Remember to use the VISTA guidance, concept paper, and application instructions to help with the application process. The RFCP timeline is a standalone document and is also included within the request for concept paper notice. Both of these documents can be found in the handouts panel on the right side of your screen and on the VISTA homepage. Once you have submitted the concept paper, CNCS field staff will acknowledge receipt within 2 weeks via email. If VISTA accepts the concept paper, the 4 narrative responses included in the concept paper will be automatically pre-populated into the full application. The sponsoring organization will go into eGrants to submit the full VISTA application. If the application is accepted, CNCS field staff can help to develop the service opportunity listing to begin VISTA recruitment efforts. At that time, you will also develop a VISTA assignment description, or VAD, VAD. The VISTA assignment description is a required member position description for each VISTA member. It clearly states the skills and competencies desired for the role, which will help you during your recruitment and selecting a candidate. During the VISTA member's term, the VAD will help you to guide and support them during onboarding, community entry, and their professional development. Lastly, it can help to assess performance and determine whether goals are being met throughout the year. There are also resources available to help with this process, and CNCS field staff is always available to help provide technical assistance. As part of starting a project, VISTA will also provide online trainings for supervisors to help them get acquainted with roles and responsibilities. Now that I've provided an overview of the application process, I will shift the discussion and review some resources that can help you along the way. To close out this webinar, I'd like to point out some resources that will help you determine whether your organization would like to apply for VISTA resources. Remember, your local CNCS field staff are your main point of contact to provide guidance and technical assistance when writing your concept paper and developing a project. As you can see, we have more than enough resources and tools to help your organization get better acquainted with VISTA and decide whether you'd like to apply for VISTA resources. One of the most important things that you will need to know is how to contact the local CNCS field staff. You can follow the link listed on the slide and find the email, or you can simply type the 2-letter state abbreviation followed by @cns.gov. Field staff are available to answer questions and provide technical assistance to you. We have included the link to the RFCP notice and the concept paper instructions. Both will provide information about VISTA and the guidance on what to include in the concept paper. To supplement all this information that we've provided this afternoon, you may be interested in watching a few videos to give you a historical perspective or background and provide context about the VISTA program. You can find these videos on the VISTA YouTube channel and on our website at nationalservice.gov. Now I'll hand the presentation back over to Melissa.
Thanks for pointing out some of those great resources, Ben. I know that we've covered a lot of information during this webinar, so we'd like to know if you have any questions about AmeriCorps VISTA, about developing a concept paper, or becoming a sponsoring organization. If you do, please type them into the chat panel at this time. So I see a question. If a program moves on to the application stage for quarter 2, when is the application due? So the concept papers for quarter 2 are due on January 1st, and then we have our own review time period here at CNCS, and decisions on those concept papers would be given back to those sponsoring organizations, those potential sponsoring organizations, by the 12th of February. And during that time frame between the 12th of February through mid-March, the 18th of March, that's for about a month or so is the time period for writing up that application, and application decisions would be provided on March 18th. Regarding a page limit for the concept papers, we don't have a page limit, but we do recommend that organizations describe their project in a succinct manner, but also highlighting all of those really important pieces. So we have developed concept paper instructions, which can be found on the VISTA webpage, and it really provides in-depth information about the type of narratives that we're looking for, the type of data that should be included, and some reminders about prohibited activities as well. A reason for denial of a concept paper could be anything from, if it's a for-profit agency, we wouldn't be able to accept a concept paper from them, or if there are any activities that are prohibited per our statute, we wouldn't be able to accept that type of concept paper. And in some instances, things just may not align with the work that we're doing, the anti-poverty work that we're looking for, and the capacity building work that we're looking for. So these are great. I'm glad that you're uploading these questions. What we're going to do at the end of this webinar, we'll be able to get a copy of all the questions that have been submitted in this chat, and we'll try to answer these questions and upload them so that we'll be able to continue to provide this information and help you. One major thing that I'd like to point out is that all of you are able to reach out to CNCS field staff in your local area if you need technical assistance and support in the writing of the concept paper, and if you're invited to submit an application, they can also assist and answer questions in that way. Having said that, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I'd like to move along to the next slide. So to close out this presentation, we'd like to hear your feedback about the webinar. We want to know what worked for you, how we can improve the presentation for future iterations. So please take a few moments to complete a brief survey, and we're going to use your input right away as we prepare for our future webinars. And I'd like to thank you in advance for sharing your feedback. And if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to review the request for concept papers notice and timeline, which are found on our website. There are several other application materials that can help you through the process, and I did include that link in the chat panel. And right now, if you look on the right-hand side, you can also see the link to the SurveyMonkey evaluation, which we appreciate if you would complete that. And I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar, and I hope that you have a great afternoon. Please be in touch, and remember that you can receive technical assistance if necessary. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.